Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful Easter holiday weekend and we're able to celebrate the best that we're able to in the world today. So bunch of things to cover today. We're going to talk about some sales tips. Before that, there's some tools here I want to make sure that you're aware of. Last week, Matt and Devin at ECA, they put together some tutorials on how to use Calendly and Zoom for those of you that want to do things virtually online. And this actually comes from the workshop or online workshop that Matt has been telling many of you about. But these are the tools and how to use them. So if you want to get better at being able to do things virtually, these are great tools there. And if you look on the green navigation bar, it's under resources. So Calendly will be ways for people to schedule appointments online with you. And Zoom is obviously, we've heard a lot about that in the news, a way to do online get-togethers. Mark sent me a great article. Investor who called the coronavirus collapse. Stocks aren't even close to a bottom. There aren't a lot of investors who can say they warned their clients about the coronavirus crisis and eventually 30% stock market collapse, but hedge fund manager Dan Niles is certainly one of them. In February, a letter obtained by Yahoo Finance, he sent to clients of his long-term Satori fund. He warned that he was becoming increasingly worried that the central bank accommodativeness was overshadowing the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy. Now, this was back in February, but guys, this is pertinent today. But what is he saying here? The accommodativeness, that's a lot of syllables. Accommodativeness was overshadowing the impact of COVID-19. Is that happening right now, even continue to happen right now, guys? Because what has the Fed said? What is the Fed doing? Yep, Nick's right. Yep, Dan's right. They're unlimited support, Mark, right? I mean, they're all saying pumping money in. And guys, anytime, what's happened in the past, anytime that the government has stepped in to give unlimited support so that the market doesn't crash, what ends up happening? Well, inflation, what else ends up happening? Then the crash gets worse. That's right, David. The crash gets worse. Yes, because then all the they did this in the 1930s. They did it in the 1973 when they pump money in. They did it in 2008. When they pump money in, that gives people who are investing in the market what? Oh, obviously there's no way the market can go down. And as soon as everybody thinks there's no way the market can go down, what happens, guys? A little blip down or a big blip down? So after adjusting his position before the S&P 500 fell by more than 30%, his Satori fund finished the quarter in green. How many funds ended the first quarter in green, guys? But speaking to Yahoo Finance, Niles warned that the brief respite from selling to end of March was more likely due to pension fund rebalancing. So people who are cashing in their shorts, pension fund rebalancing, these are the things that's causing the market to go up. But unfortunately, I was on a get together with a bunch of my neighbors on Saturday, and guess what they all thought? Guess what they were all saying? Or guess what they were all asking? That's all over. They want to know, what should we get into now? I've got money. When can I get back in, or not when can I get back in? What should I be investing in right now? None of them were saying, time to buy. Exactly, John. So this is what happens. Pointed to the most salient example in the Great Depression, Niles highlights the average gain over those so-called bear markets rallied totals 24%. So there were, guys, if we see the market go up 24%, we're thinking we're in a what? What does the general public think if the market goes up 24% after it goes down? Bear's over and what? All good. That's all right. All good. Compared to the drops of average 33% on what ended up being an 86% top to bottom collapse. So these rallies kept sucking investors back in, in the sense that you thought it was over and you got worked over. But Niles' doubt that the worst is over is also extended by the fact that valuations have not yet retreated in normal historical ranges, despite how far stocks have already tumbled. For that, Niles prefers looking at the ratio of the entire stock market capitalization to GDP. Who also looks at that, guys? Who also looks at the stock market capitalization compared to the GDP? In fact, it's called a ratio that's tied to a certain person. Yeah, that's right, Warren, David, exactly. It's the Warren Buffett ratio. The ratio peaked at 1.5% when the market hit an all-time high in February. even topping the tech bubbles of 1.4. So in February is at 1.5, topping the tech bubbles 1.4 reading. Now the same ratio has fallen to 1.1, but it is still much higher than a 0.8, and is still well above the financial crisis bottom of 0.6, almost twice of what it is. So are we fair? Is the market fairly valued, guys, for GDP? And that's if is that even indicated what's going to happen? What's going to happen to GDP, guys? Go up in the next year? By the end of the year, it's going to go down. So that's going to make this go what? Skyrocket. So just to get to the average, you would have to see the market go down an additional 30%, just to get to the average, not below average, just to the average. It'd have to go down an additional 30% to reflect the expected decline in GDP, while some economists project falling as much as 20% in the second quarter. It's very easy. It's very easy to figure out the market probably goes down 30% before we see a near valuation. But again, this is 2008. Market goes up 12%. Oh, wait, it goes down. Oh, wait, it's up 12%. Oh, it goes down. Goes up 24%. Oh, wait, it goes down. So, guys, beware that, right? Hey, I'm no different because I still have a ton of cash sitting on the sidelines. So, and when the market went up last week, guess what I'm thinking? Oh crap! I'm missing it. It's easy to get, even if you know better, what happens to your emotions? What happens to your emotions? Yeah, we're human. But if you think about what's going to happen to GDP, how long is it going to be before everybody gets out and starts buying things? They're estimating 30 to 40% of restaurants will never open again. Never open again. I mean, you think about everything that's happening in the economy right now. So is anybody taking any of that into account, what's going to happen to the economy? Or are they just going to say, hey, look at the Fed's going to step in. So if the Fed's throwing all sorts of money, but nobody's buying anything, does that help? No. So here's the thing. We don't know what's going to happen. In fact, a Goldman Sachs survey of big money investors found that half think the stock market has further to fall. A new survey of 1,800 big money investors found 50% of them expecting new lows and 75% still believing stocks are in a bear market. Goldman partner Marie Darling said in Friday podcast, roughly 2/3 of the respondents expect the S&P 500 to remain roughly 2,500 by the end of the year, and 37% surveyed see the benchmark closing at 2020 above 2,800. So what does this tell? What does this tell us? That's right. Everybody's getting it. Nobody knows. Your guess is as good as mine. So again, when we're working with clients' money that they spent 30 or 40 years working hard to invest and grow that nest egg, should we plan for, hey, you know what? We're in a bull market again. Should we plan for, oh, you know what? Things are going to get terrible. Or should we plan for both? Plan for the good and the bad. Yeah, plan for the good and the bad. So half my money was in FIAs. Half my money's in the market, but I had to put aside over the last year and a half tons of extra cash. So I didn't pull any money out when the market went down, but I had tons of cash waiting to get back in, and it's still sitting there waiting for to see what's going to happen with the economy, because ain't nothing going to be good. But because I had half my own money in FIAs, guess how nervous I get? And because I had half my money in FIAs, did I pull out any of the stocks that I already had invested? No, I didn't jump in with my cash, but I didn't feel I needed to pull out. I never felt I needed to pull out any of my stock market money. So guys, that's what having a 50-50 portfolio does for your clients. Okay. So right now, because we know what's happening, Alex gave us a great little ditty to talk about how would you like to earn in a year, what bonds are going to earn in the next 5 years. And Jerry has had unbelievable success with guys, even last week. So it's been 3 weeks now, and we're still having guys with unbelievable success with a little email, with a little letter that Jerry and Alex put together, and everybody's having a lot of success. So if you have not yet talked to Jerry about that little ditty and the email and the letter, please reach out to him. Guys are writing all sorts of business right now. It's been the easiest. There's been a couple of times in the last 27 or 23 years that I've had the 5Q system where I found it was easy to write business. It's extremely easy to write business right now, probably one of 3 times with this little thing that Alex came up with and Jerry has been helping guys use. So if you haven't talked to him about that yet, get a hold of him. There's all sorts of business being written right now with that. And then if you're looking to the future, please contact Matt because he has done a great job of shepherding people into what's going to be happening here going forward with marketing, at least for the next few months. So make sure you've reached out to him. So today's call, though, is about sales tips. How can we get better at what we do marketing-wise and sales-wise? And this comes from HubSpot. I love HubSpot because it's a great accumulator of information about marketing, about technology for marketing, about sales tips, things like that. So this has been aggregated from that. So one of the first things they said is, before you reach out to a prospect, identify the problems they're likely dealing with. So identify the problems you're likely dealing with. So guys, should we ever, and see, when we're talking to clients, what are we more concerned about rather than the problems they're dealing with? Guess what we're more concerned with? Us and money, I'd agree with that, yeah, what else? Yeah, our message, Ron, exactly. We got a message, we got to tell them, we got this great thing is going to benefit them. We need you to listen to this because we have this, no. Before you talk to a client, you have to understand the problems that they're likely dealing with. And if you do that, you're going to have a lot better results. Schedule time for prospecting each and every day. A little progress goes each day, adds up to big results. And I talk to you guys about this about every 6 months. You got to be an hour in your calendar every single day to market. So what could you do to market every single day? I mean, the thing with Jerry and the little ditty, that's a great way to be marketing an hour a day right now. But what are other ways that we can market an hour every single day? How many notes did I write? When I'm writing notes, when I was writing 50 notes a week, 200 notes a month, was I marketing? Even though I was saying, hey, thanks for being a client for the last year. Hey, happy birthday. Is that marketing, guys? Yes, it is. Going to my warm list and emailing them a little article that they might find beneficial, is that marketing? Picking up the phone and calling people, is that marketing? Doing an annual review with one of my clients that I know is a center of influence and then asking for referrals, is that marketing? Do something for an hour every single day. Epidemic marketing, is that marketing? Yes. So schedule a time for prospecting every single day, and you'd be amazed that if you marketed and did all those things an hour a day, every single day, guess what happens? You get lucky. You get lucky, and when you get lucky, you make money. Okay? And along with that goes use multiple channels for prospect, email, phone, social media for those of you who like to do that, events, referrals to keep the pipeline full. And right now, more than ever, you should be spending an hour, maybe even 2 hours doing that kind of marketing to make sure you keep that pipeline full or at least ready to be filled very quickly when things change a bit, okay? Keep it short and sweet. Keep your email subject lines under 7 words. That's the max that'll show up on a phone where prospects, where almost half of prospects open their messages. Keep it to less than 7 words. If you get ghosted, be creative. Now we have a great, this was sent to us by, I believe, Steve or somebody, I can't remember, a long time, about 6 months ago. And we have under the library and then archive library, we have a great way to get people to get back in contact with you if you've been ghosted. Never, ever, ever call somebody just to check in. So before you pick up the phone with your clients or whatever, you don't want to be, you got to have some sort of value proposition. Some little article you say you're going to send them, a little piece of information you give them. Just don't say I'm calling to check in. I always have something where when they get off the phone, they say, "Oh, that was actually a pretty good tip," or "That was pretty good. You know, I'm glad he called because I didn't know that." Make sure you have something. Okay. Here's another way. We said spend an hour a day marketing. Here's a great way to spend an hour a day marketing. Put together a little 2, 3, 4, 5-minute video that's helpful, and then email it to your clients. Maybe you talk about a couple of articles you've read and you give them the high points. Maybe it's a little information on the fact that taxes have the tax due date has been pushed out July, but there's some other things they should be doing with their taxes right now. Whatever it is, come up with some little idea that you can send to them via video, a short video. Follow-up. Once you get off the phone with someone, send a follow-up email. Anytime I talk to you guys, what do I send as soon as I get off the phone? Unless I'm so busy, I forget to do it. But my job is to what? Well, as soon as you get off the phone, what should you be doing? Send an email. Why? As soon as you get done with a meeting, what should you be doing? Send an email. Why? Yeah, very good, Dale. It imprints. It helps them remember what was covered on that phone or that meeting. Yeah, that's another touch. Yeah, exactly, Nick. So I always follow up with folks. Avoid embarrassing typos and spelling mistakes by copying and pasting your emails into Microsoft Word and then running them through the spell check or downloading Grammarly. Guys, you are in charge of somebody's money. Do not send out emails or letters with typos or misspellings. When you receive one of those, what does it make you think? When you receive one of those from your doctor, your banker, your accountant, what do you think? That's full of not professional or sloppy. You don't want to be perceived as not professional or sloppy. And here's the great thing: not all of us are great spellers. Not all of us are great at grammar. But we have what today to take care of that? Technology, tools. There is no reason to send out those things with misspellings. This actually bit me in the butt about a week ago too. Guys, we're all salespeople. I'm as bad a salesman as anybody is, or as good a salesman as anybody, but I have all the bad characteristics of a salesman. When you get an email, how many times should you read that email before you respond to it? At least twice. Because do never respond to an email when you're only halfway through it. Because I did that, it bit me in the butt, and you'd never want to do that. So make sure you read emails completely, and then guess what you should do again? Read it again before you respond to it. Make sense? And if there's any, guys, when you do an email, is there any emotion involved with emails? Not really. It's very difficult to do that. So it can come across something where you're trying to be nice. It can come across as what? Smartass, or it can come across short, or it can come across argumentative. So be very careful. I try to not email, especially clients. I try never to email them. I try to pick up the phone and call them rather than email, because they can hear me on the phone and I can hear them on the phone. And if we get off track with them thinking that I'm being short or pert to them, then I can easily fix it. So I know that we're professionals, but you've probably all seen that when I write emails, I put smiley faces in there, and I don't care if it's professional or not. Why do I put smiley faces in there? To make sure they realize I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to be helpful, or I'm trying to be positive. Does that make sense? Yeah, you don't want them a misunderstanding. It must be personal. Never send an email without personalizing two things. And no, their name is not personalizing it. Their company's not personalizing. That does not count. What are examples of personalization? Putting their name in there. I mean, machines and robots put your name into things now. That's not personalizing. It's personalizing. What are some examples of personalizing? Where you met them, family, an episode that you both went through together, when you met. I mean, something that would let them know that you did not send this out to every other single person. Hobby, yeah, exactly. Something about the kids, yeah, those kind of things. And I just talked about this. I use emojis. I don't care if it's professional or not. With emails, I don't want them to take what I say wrong. I'll go overboard on this. Use the sales script, but be prepared to go off script. Your prospects want to talk to a real person, not a robot. So with the 21-point checklist, with the FIA script, now here's the thing. Can you go off script if you don't even know the script? Do you think it's easier to go off script if you have the script down pat, or it's easier to go off script if you don't have the script down pat? It's easier to go off script if you have it down pat. Why? Because how worried are you about getting back onto script? Yeah, because you're going to cover Kevin, exactly. It's easier to get back into it. So you're much more comfortable, if you really know the script backwards and forwards, you're much more comfortable when somebody goes off on a tangent to go off on the tangent with them and have a little discussion and then roll back into the script. If you aren't comfortable with the script, you're like, oh, I can't go off on that tangent because, geez, I'm going to get all confused and then I don't want to go and then we'll go down. So guys, I know that we've got a lot of time being spent at home right now. And besides that hour, at least an hour a day prospecting, guess what would be a good investment with a couple of hours a day? Get back in and get those scripts locked down. Treat everyone with respect. Just because someone isn't a decision maker doesn't mean you should dismiss them or their authority unless you want to get disqualified. And what have we learned with 5Q? Other advisors think that one of the couple is not a decision maker. What do we know? We know the one that isn't the decision maker probably what? The one that appears not to be the decision maker probably is. And again, 90% of the time it's the wife who lets the guy manage the investments. Again, I've seen it going the reverse way where the woman, the wife takes care of the investments, the guy takes care of the family. But whatever takes care of the family, if they want something, guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen. So when Jeff and I are listening to tapes and we only hear one of the spouses talking, is that a good thing? No, you have to get the other spouse involved. You have to get the other spouse involved. Sometimes because of how we deal with the 5Q process, the wife does talk a lot. She is involved. And then the guy or the guy or the spouse that takes care of the investments, they're not talking. And why are they not talking? They're bored. They're not interested in all this stuff. They want to get right to the stocks and bonds and everything else. We need both, regardless. If I'm talking about the non-financial stuff, I need the guy who's interested in the stocks to be talking. If I'm talking about the stocks with the person who's not worried about investments, is more worried about family, I need to get them involved when we're talking about the investments. So you got to have both of them involved during both the non-financial and the financial if you really want this thing to work. So pay attention to that. Yeah, so Dan asked, could you simply say, what do you think about that, Bob? I never ask a question I don't know the answer to. And if I say, what do you think about that, Bob? How many answers could they give me? And would they all be good? 1,000,000, and they wouldn't all be good. So I only ask questions where I know the answer to it. So I'm going to ask a question to that other person that's going to be easy to answer, and it's going to give the exact answer that I want, and then I can pat them on the back. Because if I give them an easy answer with the answer I want and they disagree with me, guess what I know right then and there? I got a problem. And when do I want to know I have a problem? At the end of the meeting or as soon as it happens? As soon as it happens so I can get back on track. Does that make sense? This one, never badmouth your competitor to a prospect. And this is where a lot of guys get confused when they first come on to 5Q because they're not comfortable with us badmouthing the other guy. Guys, do we ever badmouth the other guy? If you're badmouthing the other guy, you got a problem. Because if they protect their guy once out loud, guess what? Meeting over. Because once they've said it out loud, now they need to defend it for the rest of the meeting. So you know what? I can call my wife ugly, but if you call her ugly, we got a problem. So they can call their guy a thief, but you can't call him a thief. All you do is set the table and then let them serve themselves that information. Make sense? If your competitor does something well, what should we do? Say it. Tell them they've done well. In fact, you notice with the templates of the 21-point checklist, the template is this. Every time we cover a topic, the first thing we do is say it's good. Hey, why are powers of attorney good? Why is diversification good? Why is being concerned about liquidity good? We always start with why something is good. And if the advisor's done something well, tell them they've done something well. Because we know that what? For example, if they've got them in 10 different investments, we say, guess what? They're trying to diversify, and that's what? That's good. Now, later on, we're going to find out that what they were trying to do was it actually working the way they thought it was working. No, so good try, but they failed. And then we discover what? Oh, wait, they didn't accidentally fail. They failed on what? They failed on what? Because if they failed on diversification, that's not good enough. They have to fail. They failed on purpose. But we've got to at least acknowledge up front what the client is thinking about the competitor, which is, you got me in 10 things, so that's pretty good. So we're going to say, yeah, you know what? You're right. If he's got you in 10 things because he wants you to be diversified, that's actually good. So the way the templates work on all of the 21-point checklist scripts is, hey, we got some good things going on here, but let's talk about all the things that you've never heard about before, which might not necessarily be all that good. So when you go back and look at the scripts, look at how that template plays out. We always start with the good, then we move to the bad. And when a prospect criticizes you or your approach, accept it gracefully rather than getting defensive. So when somebody criticizes me, what's the first thing I do? Sounds like you're trying to put words into my mouth. Geez, why are you asking me all these questions? What's the first thing I say? Absolutely. I mean, I'm asking you question after question. It's like I'm hitting you with a rubber hose and got a spotlight in your face. Yeah, if I was in your shoes, I'd be really irritated because you came here for information. And all I'm doing is asking you question after question after question. I mean, if you were the expert, I should be, and I'm asking you questions, and I guess I should be paying you. Now you paying me? Yeah, I get it. I mean, you should be. If I said you, I would be really, really irritated about me asking all these questions. Question. All you want is answer. So I guess you should pop me upside the head and say, dude, quit asking questions. Just give me the answers. So then, when I've done that, now have I told them that they're wrong or right for getting mad at me? And what happens to them when you do that? What happens to all their angst and anger at you? Yeah, they relax. And then all I do is circle around and say, what? So are you the kind of person that likes people wasting your time? No, of course not. That's why I don't want you asking all me. No, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. That's why you're sick and tired of me asking all these questions. Because, if I didn't ask you these questions and it went on and on and on for 15 minutes about things that you didn't even care about, would you say that was a good investment of time or a bad investment? So you see, that's the direction I'm going to go then. But I can't go that direction until what? Until they relax, until they chill, until they figure out, oh, he gets where I'm coming from. He's not arguing with me. He's actually agreeing with me and my point of view. Until I can get them to relax, I can't have them circle around and tell me that, yeah, but if you didn't ask me these questions, you might be going on and on about something I don't even interested in or I don't agree with, and that would be a waste of my time. So, but you have to get them to relax before you can do that. Does that make sense? Picture yourself sitting on the same side of the table as your prospect. We talked kind of like this at the beginning. You don't want to talk to somebody about the things that you have. You got to put yourself in their shoes and the things, their worries, what keeps them up at night, what their desires are, what their goals are, what their dreams are. You have to get into the client's shoes. And we have a great way to do that. How do we get into a client's shoes? How do we get them to tell us what's going on in their head? Yes, we ask open-ended questions, Nick. Exactly. We ask them. If you're reluctant to pick up the phone, remind yourself of your financial, career, or your personal goals. If you're afraid to reach out to somebody, if you're afraid, and this is not picking up the phone, if you're afraid to market, if you're afraid to pick up the phone, if you're afraid to send an email, if you're afraid of doing something that you know you need to do, remind yourself that your financial career and your personal goals are on the line. A baseball team won't win the game if they only try to hit the ball once. The same is true for you. If you only call leads once, you're highly unlikely to make the sale. So guys, You've all heard this, which is how many touches does it take to close somebody? What's the average? Yeah, 6, 7, 8, right. That's the average, which means some people you can close them in 1 or 2 times. Some people it's going to take 10, 12, 15 times. But the average is about 7, 8 times. So, I mean, one of my favorite advisors is Tom, and he's my favorite because he follows up. He does not give up. And he has sale after sale after sale that he tells me about people that he met with initially 10 months ago and they weren't ready to move forward. But because he does epidemic marketing, because he follows up, because he does what he says he's going to do for these folks, 10 months down the road, he closes it. How many people in the industry do that? Man, when all the research is done, how many advisors give up after 1 or 2 times? Most. Yeah, most. Maintain a 2-to-1 ratio of info feedback for every 2 benefits you give the prospect. Ask a question confirming you're on the right track. What do you think I think about that? That's wrong. Why is that wrong? Yeah, not enough. That's not enough. 2 for 1, it should be what? A gazillion to 1. I mean, the analogy is that, you guys, any point worth making must be made by who? Any point worth making must be made by who? Them. Any point not worth making should not be what? Any point not worth making should not be what? Made. So that means everything should be said by them. It should be open-ended question, pat them on the back. Open-ended question, agree with them. Open-ended question, parrot them. Open-ended question, empower them. And that's what doing that is. You're going to get very, very good with that 15-minute drill doing that. But you open-ended questions, guys. Open-ended questions. Yeah, we're just a guide, right? Show, not tell. At the moment you're tempted to tell the buyer what he needs to do, instead offer a story. Why do we have so many stories in the 21-point checklist? Because people, what are people? Are people designed? Are their brains designed to take in information, or are brains designed to listen to stories? How has history, how has knowledge been passed down for the last 10,000 years? Stories, stories, stories. Also showing them, a picture paints 1,000 words. We talked about earlier with the video. Mike down in Texas has said, just we were talking last week or a couple weeks ago, he said, geez, you know, since I started counting out that $3,000 for people, he says it's changed the 21-point checklist for him. Because once he started counting out the $3,000 at the 21-point checklist about the amount of fees that they're paying they didn't know about, and asking if they want that story. If you don't know that, you need to learn that part of the presentation. Once he started doing that, he got people's attention, because what it made, because when you say something you can save them $3,000, that's abstract to them. But when you start counting out $100 bills in front of them, $3,000, $100 bills, guess what that does to the abstract of saving $3,000? Turns it into concrete. Makes it real, exactly. Keep the story short, though, because experts say easy to follow success story is dramatically effective than a long, wandering one. So when I listen to guys tell stories, especially when they want to take one of my stories and instead insert their own story, their own personal story that happened to them, guess what they do when they take one of my short stories and turns it into something that actually happened to them? What do you think they do with that story? They expand it. Yeah, they go into all sorts of things that don't even really matter before. And the analogy I give with this is on the Bible. Does the Bible go into great detail, or does it tell short stories with not a lot of detail? Very short stories. I mean, does it ever go into, Jesus went out with his disciples to go fishing, and, they were in a nice-looking boat. It was a nice looking boat. They put it together. There's like 14, 15, and it was a great day. Oh, it was sunny, and they were out there having a good old time. They were coking, they were joking, and they're fishing, and they saw the storm coming up, and at first they thought, nah, they don't need to worry about the storm. Is that the detail they go into with that story? They say Jesus went out with the disciples. They were out fishing. A storm came out. Yeah, which one? Short or a lot of detail? short. Because if you go into a lot of detail, guess what people lose? The point of the story, the message, exactly. So don't change the stories in the 21-point checklist and personalize them, because when you do, you get so involved in what happened in the story that the message gets lost to the client. Does that make sense? Here's one that I preach about a lot. Anywhere where you use the word but, you could exchange it for the word what? And. Because but tells them whatever they said is what? Wrong. What form of comedy uses this? Anybody know that? Improv uses this. And when one person finishes, another one jumps in and then goes on, and then and goes on. They just build a story. So when somebody says something wrong, you don't want to tell them yes, but you want to say yeah, and then go on and help them realize where they were wrong. Now, when they were wrong, you're first going to tell them that their viewpoint was right, and then you're going to have them learn that that though their viewpoint is right, they were looking at the wrong thing. You can't say yes, but you got to say and, you're right, and then have them look at a different thing. So work on eliminating the word but out of you. When you're listening to your tapes, get that word out. You substitute the word and in. Silence gives prospects a chance to process information and makes interactions feel more like conversations than sales pitch. Don't rush to fill it. So when you ask an open-ended questions, you got to give them some elbow room to answer, because you've answered these questions a gazillion times before. You've answered these questions a gazillion times before, so you think they should be able to just rip off an answer to you. Give them a second or two to answer. If you can look in their face and you see they're confused, jump in and help them. Apologize first for asking confusing questions, and then make the question easier. But don't just ask an open-ended question and then answer your own question because you're afraid of a little silence. They've got to think about the answer. Also, as I've talked about before, my hearing after spending 6 years listening to a high-pitched turbine in the Navy is not as good as it used to be. My dad's hearing wasn't as good as it used to be. So sometimes when we're listening to somebody, we need a second or two to do what? Fill in context where we didn't really process it right. Fill in some context of things that we didn't hear clearly. So don't be so afraid to jump in. Give them some elbow room, some silence to go ahead and ask the question. Because when you're rushing, that's not gonna work. Because then you're just going. Because if they're lost and you keep rushing through, what's going to happen to them being lost? They'll get even more lost. So give them a pitch. Also, guys, when you're getting when the meeting is going wrong or you're starting to get nervous, what do you need to do? Slow down. Take a breath. Does anybody ever argue or attack somebody who's talking slow and calmly? But boy, if you get nervous and you start talking faster, does that make it easier or harder for them to argue back to you? So when the client starts arguing with you, you need to what? Look for a chance to empower them. But before you do that, you got to slow it down. Slow it down. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Empower them. When we're empowering them, are we flattering them? No, we are not flattering them. No. We're giving if you give sincere and honest appreciation, is that flattery, guys? But if you give fake appreciation, then that's flattery. You know, and I've gone through, like, if I'm out as a younger man trying to get friendly with girls, if I say, boy, you're pretty, oh, the angels must have dropped you onto earth, you're pretty. Is that sincere and honest appreciation, or is that flattery? And how well is that going to work? It's not. Instead, I need to find something about them that I can give sincere and honest appreciation. You've all heard me do this with shoes, or I say, wow, do you mind? I saw those shoes and they are awesome. And my sister, you know, it's birthday coming up. I want to know. See, what I'm going to do is go on and on and on about her shoes. If her shoes, I mean, not if her shoes are the same as everybody else, but if she has cool shoes, tell her how great those shoes are. That's giving what? I've found one thing about them, and I'm giving what? Honest and sincere appreciation about that thing. Does that make sense? So when you talk to a client, if they give you a great answer to something, what should you do? Tell them what? Boy, that was a great answer. I've never heard somebody put it that way before. Do you mind if I borrow that? Because that's a great way to explain something. That, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people before, and they give me these pat answers. You have a very creative mind. The way you answered that was it actually makes it much clearer. You know, I go on and on and on about how appreciative I am of their way of viewing things. So I always be looking for ways to give honest and sincere appreciation. Acting over-enthusiastic doesn't work, as we just talked about. Be calm and be confident. On the other hand, even though you're going to be calm and confident, find a way to make them laugh. Get your prospect to smile or laugh if possible. As research shows, it's harder to say no while you're grinning. And guys, I am a very funny person, but the clients would always, if the client tries to be funny, guess what? I'm all about it. I mean, if you talk to Missy about my appointments, the years I made $1 million or more, guess how many of those appointments had laughter in the meetings? All of them did. And when you've heard my story about being the top salesperson for TV, selling more TVs than 1 year at Best Buy, when all the senior executives were on the mezzanine watching me, what did they notice about me? I always get the clients to laugh, not with a joke, just about something, some sort of, you know, kind of offhand comment. I don't tell jokes. Jokes don't work. They tell you they're your salesman. But if you pay attention, there's things that we can all laugh at, whether it's some sort of self-deprecation thing or whatever it may be. There's something we can laugh at, and I always also touch them somewhere. And again, now we're in COVID, so it's probably not valid anymore. But I would I would touch them on the shoulder or whatever. I didn't do that with clients because obviously they're sitting across the desk, but I did get them laughing. Is what anecdotal, Dale? I don't get what you're asking. You're just saying, yeah. So by anecdotal, you're saying listen to what they're saying and then give it, find something in there to laugh at. Yeah, absolutely. So sense of urgency is best addressed right after the goal setting phase of the discovery conversation. I didn't write this in there. That's what the science says. And that's why even after you do the goals of the agreement meeting, what do? We have the close, and in the close, we have the little, why should we do it now? Why shouldn't we wait? Right? And is it worth taking the mild frustration of doing it? See, that's the urgency. You deal with their fear, their frustration, and their greed. That's all urgent. So right after we do the goals, I mean, I actually cut and pasted what they said right here, but this says exactly what we do at the agreement meeting. Sense of urgency is best addressed right after the goal setting phase, which is when we talk about our goals of the discovery conversation. Then what we do is we go into what? Why should we do it now? Why shouldn't we wait? And why is it worth the frustration of finding the stuff, bringing it back to us, spending another hour with us? So it's just not me asking you to do it. It's science-based, research-based. To show you're truly paying attention, write down the prospect's objections. Guys, remember, we want to get on their side. When they give us an objection, we want to get on their side for how long? A minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes? How long? The longest possible. So what we do is we try to figure out something that they said in there that we could agree with on their objection. And then we want to spend a minute or two talking about that. So if you write down some reasons why what they said were absolutely true, is that going to hurt you or help you in their minds? It's going to help you. So, I hate annuities. Yeah, I hate them too. I mean, you hate them. You only have to deal with them, once in a blue moon. I have to deal with this stuff every single day. So I hate them. And why would we want to invest in something where locked our money up for life? So I'm going to write down lock money up for life. And then I'm going to lock it. And then I'm going to say, in big companies, they don't have our best interest at heart. So don't have our best interest at heart. I'm going to write these things down. And then I can circle back and spend a minute or so telling them why, if annuities really worked where you couldn't get your money out forever, that would be stupid to put your money there. You know, when I'm dealing with a company that's a big company, I need to be extra careful. So you're going to just write the reasons why what they said are absolutely right. It's not going to hurt you in the end, but it's because it's going to help to lower their resistance to their resistance level to you up front, and then you've got those things written down, so you can then look at them and spend some time talking about why those things are absolutely true. Does that make sense to you? And then after the meeting, guess what you have to go back and do? See if this extra credit today. After the meeting, if you get an objection after the meeting, what do you need to go back and do? Figure out what went wrong in the script, because the script removes all objections. So if you get an objection, go back and find out why that objection came up. What did you miss in the script? Because it's much easier to learn the script than it is to overcome objections. I mean, it took me a couple of years to become an expert at overcoming objections the right way, where they worked 100% of the time. But even when I do it the right way, it's about 10 minutes to overcome an objection. Guess how many minutes I would have saved if I just did the script right? 10 minutes. And if you do 3 objections in a 2-hour meeting, you've just added how many minutes onto your meeting? 30 minutes. You don't want to do that. Instead, learn the script so that you don't have those things. But when they come up, go ahead and write down their objection and why that was right. If you don't overpromise. If you overpromise, you may win the deal, but you'll face unhappy customers down the line. Don't overpromise. And what the great way, or the big thing I talk about with this is, if you've got a money manager, should you be promising that your money manager is going to maybe not make as much in the good years, but it's going to protect you in the bad years? Is that a promise you should make? Only if you're going to bet your house on it. And I guess how many advisors I've found that would bet their house on their money manager being able to fulfill that? None. So the only 3 things we promise with the market is what? When the market goes up, our accounts are going to do what? Go up. When the market goes down, our account's going to do what? Go down. And historically, the market's done what than what? It's gone up more than often. Yeah. So that's why we invest in the market. Don't overpromise some things. Unless you're going to bet your house on it, don't promise it. Make sense? Avoid manipulating closing techniques, which prospects are now sophisticated enough to recognize and train to walk away from. A lot of us when we got into business, we were taught to always be closing. Guys, how good a closer am I? How good a closer am I personally? I'm a horrible closer. Remember, I had 300 people walk through my office. I had $34 million, and how much of that did I close? 800,000 out of 34 million. 800,000 out of 34 million. $1 in $34 is what I closed. I couldn't close. Guys, where's the big closing script? Except in the agreement meeting. In the agreement meeting, we have a closing script. But in the 21-point checklist script, is there any closing script? No. It's, hey, we've covered a lot today. I'm sure you got plenty of questions. Let's do this. Let's have you go home. Give time for the dust to settle. Then we'll come back. We'll just go through your questions, and then we'll just move forward at your pace. Wow, that's an awesome closing script, isn't it? See, with boomers, if you try to close them, they're going to do what? Fight you. They want to be the ones that make the decision to close. So all I do is set another appointment and say, we're just going to get together, go through your questions, and we're going to go through at their pace. So they close themselves. When you're in a sales slump, set a couple of small achievable goals, create momentum, and boost your confidence. So like we talked about today, set a goal to prospect for just 1 hour a day, whether it's writing letters, getting your epidemic going, making phone calls, sending emails, whatever. Set and stick to clear activity goals. You guys know I don't like goals. I don't want you to make a goal. I'm going to make $1 million this year, or a goal of I'm going to write $20 million of the product. No. The only goals you should be making are what? Activity goals. I'm going to spend an hour every single day prospecting. I'm going to spend 15 minutes every single day doing my 15-minute drill. Activity goals, those you can hold yourself accountable to. So, what did I have this up here for? Oh, Guys, and if you're looking for activity goals, if you go to the archive library, there's all sorts of things in here that cost you nothing to get in front of people. They cost you nothing to get in front of people. Now, how good are any of these systems? Are any of these systems going to get you in front of a ton of people? David's got it right. Tom's got it right. Yeah, all of them are not they're not going to get you in front of a ton of people. But here's the amazing thing. If you have 5 of these running in the background at any one time, guess what happens? That's right, Kevin. Combined, they are awesome. Individually, they suck. Combined, they're awesome. And if you have time and you're twiddling your thumbs right now, should you turn on daytime TV or Netflix, or should you get your butt in gear, get your epidemic marketing going, and getting some of these things going in the background? Because the nice thing is if when things turn around, you go back to normal marketing. Guess what? If you have these things up and running, you can continue to have them running in the background. I had one guy in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and he's like 72 years old. He goes, Mike, your marketing sucks. I'm like, dude, you're not even doing seminars. He goes, of course I'm not doing seminars. I'm talking about all these things. And then he's talking about the archive library. They said, then why are you doing them? He goes, because even though they suck, I'm getting in front of 5 new people a month with this and making a ton of money that's virtually costing me nothing to do. So his point was what? All of these suck if you do them by themselves. If you have 5 of these running at one time, guess what? All sorts of things can happen. Make sense? So if you are not doing epidemic marketing right now, get that going. Now is the time. People don't buy what you sell. They buy what you believe. So make sure that you're if you haven't done a 21-point checklist on yourself, that you get that done now. You shouldn't even be where you're at right now unless you've done it yourself. And then use your mentor, guys. You have Jeff, you have me. Nobody else in the industry has Jeff. Nobody else in the industry has me. Use your mentors. Use your mentors. Use guys that have 20 years experience helping guys make more than $1 million a year, making $2 million a year. Use them, okay? So super. You guys thanks for staying on today. Thanks for being with 5Q, and we will all talk to you next Monday. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.